Hello and welcome to another episode of Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast for neurodivergent people. I said that well, didn't I? I'm doing great today. I am Joy Amy Wigford.
And I'm Murray Spear.
And today we are joined in the studio by JB. Hello, JB.
Hiya.
And we're going to chat about all things neurodivergent.
As per.
We're all feeling in a slightly weird mood today, so you guys are in for a treat.
Tired. Yeah.
So let's start as we normally start. So JB, what's your relationship with neurodivergence?
So I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 25, 26, I think, at university. And then I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 29. And when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, they were like Dyspraxia as well. And then recently, I think I've started to realise I probably have ASD as well.
Right. You've got a lovely collection.
It's a beautiful collection.
This is so often the way.
Yeah.
Stacking, just that one.
You know, you get one, you get 3 for free. Or it's just 3 neurodiversities in a trench coat.
Trying to get into the cinema.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we talked about stacking before. It always seems like the more you stack, the more people start to switch off. Like, so the more stuff that you know you have, the more they go, oh, they can't possibly have all of that at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, no, we can. We absolutely can.
Constant battle in my brain.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think a lot of that comes from that. The ADHD, autism, so many people go, well, you can't have both of those because they're the opposite things. It's like, my brain agrees sometimes, yes.
Yeah,
sometimes
yes.
my brain agrees with that, but other
Understandable.
times.
It's like, yeah, but also explains so many things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the dyspraxia thing. Like my dad is always like, I always know when you come visit because there is stuff everywhere. Just when he walks in, I'm like, rude, Dad.
So I know you've said when you were diagnosed, but sort of how old were you when you discovered your neurodivergence?
So my mum kind of always suspected I had dyslexia, and she tried to get me diagnosed when I was in primary school, and they said they weren't going to do it. So my mum was like, well, I'm going to go to the private place in Stoke. And they were like, oh, because you'll pay, they'll just say that they have dyslexia, even if they don't.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, that's not how private works. 100%. So my mum was persuaded not to do that. And then when I was at secondary school, my mum tried to get me diagnosed again, and they were like, "Well, we know what they're writing, so it's fine." Like completely, like just ignoring all the other aspects that dyslexia impact.
It's not just that.
It's not just that. Yeah, no. So that was completely ignored. So then when I was so I went to my undergrad and then I did my PGCE at Cardiff Uni. And at Cardiff Uni, they were really, like, I got my diagnosis through them basically.
Right.
And they were really, really helpful and they were really lovely. And so, yeah, I got my diagnosis of dyslexia through them. And then it was much, much later. So the whole incident, basically, I was going to go see my brother who lives in Switzerland. And I'm permanently late for everything. I was at the time, especially. And basically I arrived 4 hours early to a flight that I then missed.
Right. Okay. Yep.
And like that incident itself, like genuinely, I used to not be able to talk about planes or airports without like fully going into a panic. Yeah. I can now talk about it without crying. So, you know, I'm basically amazing. My spouse at the time started Googling symptoms of like, why does this happen constantly? Because it happens all the time. And they were like, I think you have ADHD, and then sent me like the NHS list. I was like, out of the 11 things, I ticked off 10 of them. And the only one I didn't tick off was like driving dangerous, like harm to myself, like dangerous driving and stuff.
Yeah, risk taking.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then I've learned further since then. It's like risk taking isn't just driving dangerously.
No.
It can also be about spending. It can be about other stuff. And it's like, yeah, I do tick off those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I ticked off everything. And then I got diagnosed in 2001, I want to say, in Cardiff, when I was 29. So yeah.
Wow.
It's quite a journey.
It has been a journey. Absolutely.
Especially that bouncing to and from the dyslexia front in school.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
I've spoken to my mum
away.
about it, and like we've talked a lot about a lot of things, like since I've been diagnosed and stuff. And my mum's like really sorry. She's like, I'm sorry I didn't push more and stuff like that. I was like, right, mum, but like, so I work in education, and my sister works in for a fostering agency in recruitment, but she does loads of stuff. And so me and my sister have really strong understanding. Like my sister's really into child development, stuff like that. And I'm obviously into neurodiversity. So we understand what's around and things like that. My mum and both my mum and my dad were in catering. You weren't to know these sorts of things.
No.
It was the early 2000s. You weren't to know these things. You relied on the schools. The school was meant to be the one that gave the support and gave the help. They didn't. So for me, I don't see it as my mum failing in that aspect. Like I was let down. She was let down.
And it sounds like she was fighting for your
She tried.
dyslexia.
Tried again and again.
She tried. Like she's like, I should have done more. I should have done this. It's like, well, why were you to know? You were told by people you trusted that this isn't the case.
Like, we hear that from a lot of people, them talking about kind of parental guilt.
Yeah.
Their parents sometimes have difficulty coming to terms with it because they feel guilty that they didn't. But that's not their job.
No.
It's the job of educators and doctors and things to support that.
And it's such weird. The onus so often falls on parents to take up all care duties and it not actually be evenly shared in the way that it should be, especially across education providers. And that is, there's a failing there.
Absolutely.
Realistically. And information wasn't there.
And
there's only so much you can know if there's no way of knowing it. All human.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like you say, if you don't work in that sector at all,
how are you meant to know?
How are you meant to know?
My mum can set up a 200-room restaurant for like race course, and like she will get everything done. She will know everything that's going on. She will be on it. Yeah. She will know everything. She'll know food allergies, everything. So, if you need that support, my mum's great at that. Like,
exactly.
She'll help you set up an event.
In your area.
No issue whatsoever. Like, I'm very proud of my mum. Like, she used to get asked regularly to do Royal Ascot. So there was a restaurant across from the Royal Boxes.
Right.
So big restaurant. People are paying £500 a head for a day there. And my mum was asked to be the manager of that restaurant because she was amazing at her job there.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just big up to your mum. That's great.
Proud of my mum.
That's brilliant.
We're gonna big up the mum
really
pride.
Good. Yeah.
How did your discovery or your diagnosis or like you say finding the NHS list? How did your discovery change your relationship with yourself, or did it at all?
Oh, massively so. And it's constantly changing now. Like my understanding of ADHD was same as so many others. There's just naughty boy syndrome. My cousin had ADHD, has ADHD, and when we were a kid, he was just a naughty boy. So that's what I knew of ADHD. I didn't know anything else about it. Apart from obviously what was told in the media in the 90s and the 2000s, which was so positive about ADHD.
Wasn't it, Jazz?
Yeah, it's parents failing, overdiagnosis, medication, naughty boys, just an excuse, stuff like that. And then I kind of realised that I had it and was like, it's been a journey. It's a constant journey of just everything and what it is and stuff. That doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
That make
it does
sense.
make sense.
Yeah.
So I discovered I was autistic last year. So I'm still very much on that journey, and it completely changed my relationship with myself, you start knowing reasons behind why you act a certain way and why you do things. And like, for me, I cut myself a lot more slack.
I sometimes cut myself more slack.
Cut yourself more slack.
It depends, but
yeah, as you work through it, like so much of it's from the validation of knowing why, like you're saying, the reasons behind stuff and things like that.
It's helped massively at work. I've seen a massive difference in having in being able to keep a job and my working environment, knowing and getting that diagnosis as it has made it so I can actually keep a job for longer than a year, which is not something I could do before. Like my sisters have one job in 9 years. I've had 10.
Yeah.
It's made such a huge difference to me to be like for that aspect, which is really amazing. But I did say to my mum the other day, I would love to just have a day without ADHD to see what it would be like.
A day off. Yeah.
Just a day off.
Yeah. I've had that conversation with myself many times about various things that happen to my body.
Yes.
And my brain. Just a day off to know what the baseline would be for everybody else.
Yeah.
And quite often, actually, I find myself thinking, I wish there was a way of getting somebody else to experience life as I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that there's somebody who completely understands.
Yes.
Yeah. It's one of these, I probably said it before, that thing of, because we're infinitely individual, we're each our own person, it's the infinite beauty of humanity because we're all each our own person, but it's infinitely lonely as well because we're the only person who can ever truly know ourselves.
Yeah.
And we can never entirely know someone else. And so that's beautiful and tragic at the same time. But we each bring our own perspective to the world, our own unique joys, concoction of weirdness.
Yes.
Yeah. A beautiful concoction of weirdness.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you, for want of a better phrase, did you come out to people as neurodivergent?
Yeah, I did. I have done. And like now I'm really, really open about it. Like I just say it straight up to new people and stuff.
That's good because you're on a podcast.
Yes, absolutely. So
So it's getting recorded.
no, like I'll say it like it doesn't bother me. I think sometimes maybe I like overthink it maybe and like I worry that it kind of becomes my whole personality. And it's a little bit hard because of working with it and it being it's just like it consumes like all my thoughts. Yeah. And so it's like, oh, it should just be a bit about yourself. I'm like, yeah, but it also is the reason I do all the things. So yeah.
It is your baseline.
It is my baseline.
Your brain is literally wired differently.
Yeah.
And so it does define us.
Yeah.
Literally. But it is hard to
and yet, if you've met one neurodivergent person, you've met one neurodivergent person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's so hard to fight, especially the social dialogue of, oh, well, you're just letting it define you. You're actually using it as an excuse. Any of those types of things which are so prevalent.
And it's like, I remember telling my older sister, I have lots of brothers and sisters, but I remember telling my older sister, and her response was really like, well, you're still just you. But the way it was, like, it didn't feel very supportive at all. It felt very kind of dismissive of what I'd been going through and stuff.
Yeah.
People's reactions can be difficult because they are, while we're wrestling with looking at ourselves in a different way, they're trying not to look at us in a different way, but they sort of have to. It's I'm still me, but you're going to see parts of me that I've not shown you before because I'm going to stop masking it off because that's exhausting me.
Yeah.
And I know I got a bit of that, and I know I have some friends who have held back from me since because I'm not sure they know how to deal with it. But I've also, especially my family, have like slowly. The conversation about neurodivergence has actually started coming into conversations, and I know they're taking into account my reactions to things much better. And it's been kind of a slow increase of support that's happened, which I know I'm very lucky to have that. But there have been people who've pulled back because they don't quite know how to deal with things.
I think my mum struggles with it, like with the differences and stuff like that. And I think she doesn't really understand it. And I try and send her stuff to try and get her to understand it. And it's like, if you don't understand it, you could do more research, Mum. But, you know.
Well, you were talking to us before we started recording about Donald Triplett.
Oh, yeah.
Who was patient zero for autism, and saying that he only passed away last year. So actually we've only got one person's lifetime worth of autism history. And so for people of different generations to get their head around it might be difficult because
absolutely, my mum,
they might not have been alive when it started.
Has always been one of those people who's like, well, everyone's a little bit autistic and everyone has autistic traits.
Okay.
And it's now like moving on a little bit and realizing, no, Mum, it's just everyone in our family is like that, because maybe everyone in maybe it's an us family thing. Have you thought of that? Because that's not true.
We did a little a social media video about that with somebody saying well, isn't everybody a little bit autistic? And the answer to it was, if you're seeing autism everywhere, you might want to talk to your GP.
Yeah.
Maybe
100%.
Because
absolutely. I think my mum probably has ADHD. Like, she really relates to a lot of stuff like that. Yeah. And but yeah, it's just like, no, Mum, it's just our family.
Yeah.
Because like she thinks now like maybe her dad was autistic. One of my cousins was diagnosed as a kid with Asperger's. So like lots of like different things. Like, yeah, no, that's just, it's our family, Mum. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's our normal.
Yeah, it's our normal. It's something that gets passed down.
Absolutely.
So. It's high genetic.
High genetic component. I remember talking to one of the students I had, and or it was a teacher, I can't remember. I was talking to someone, and they were like, they have neurodiversity, their husband, and 2 of their 3 kids. One of their kids is neurotypical. They are the weird one in the house, because it's like, why are you doing it like that? That's so weird. Because they're like the neurotypical one, and they're all like, you're odd.
Oh, wait, you don't need ear defenders to do this? That's just strange.
Weird.
God,
why don't you need an app? Like, odd.
So how would you describe your neurodivergence to somebody you'd never met before? I mean, could you?
I now have, I did this with my old manager, and I've taken it to my new job because I've recently got a new job. And it's like a staff. So I work in education, and we do like forms with students, and it's like, you know, how can we best support you doing this, do that, you know, and it's different in every place of how it works, but it's essentially the same thing. We created a staff version.
That's great.
And so when I went to my new job, I kind of gave them my staff version of it. Of like, so I'm wearing slippers. So when I do admin work, I have work slippers.
Oh, great.
Because I want to put my feet up, and I don't want to wear shoes. I don't like shoes. I wear socks constantly. I'd wear socks in the shower if I could. So I have slippers at work, and it's like, so certain things that I try and like put into place to make work easier for me and stuff like that. So I tend to kind of do it that way.
That's brilliant.
Actual people that I meet, I just talk at them, and then they normally leave me alone. Because it was interesting, because you were saying about telling friends and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have that many friends from like previous parts of my life. And the friends that I do have, I'd already unmasked in front of anyway. So they were not surprised when I told them things. Yeah. And then one of my friends is now like, I think I have ASD. And it's like, and we were both like, oh yeah, that does make sense. She doesn't really tend to present in the way that a lot of ASD people do present, but the ways that when you like dig into it, we're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because when you sort of, I've managed to accrue a little group of other neurodivergent people, and the people in the group who didn't think they were neurodivergent when they started in the group, and now like, oh, being around you people, this is what my life is supposed to be like.
Yeah.
It's a lot more comfortable, my life, when I can do this and have all these alterations. Maybe I'm, okay. Yeah. And there's this little kind of group of mainly actors, let's be fair, have just keep gravitating. And if they join and they're neurotypical when they join, they're not.
Like attracts like.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's community you can unmask and finding people you can be yourself with.
Yeah. One of the level 2 manager, we were on a trip. She came and sat next to me, and she's like, "You look neurodivergent." And I was like, looking, I was like, "Yeah, that's fair." And she's like, "I didn't mean it like that." I'm like, "No, it's cool."
It's cool.
She's like, "I'm autistic." I'm like, "It's okay." And then we're talking about things, but it's like I can go into a classroom and I can pick out most of the neurodivergent student in that classroom.
Look at the sense,
just by looking at them. Like, I know.
I mean, I do a lot of. I'm dressed fairly normally today, but normally I do a lot of dopamine dressing. So
your shoes.
Oh, I do have very sparkly shoes.
I love your sparkly shoes.
Normally I'm dressed like a children's TV presenter, so I feel like that's my badge of honour. That's I'm autistic. Hello, I'm here.
Yeah, it's always something I find fascinating because I'm like, even as I was selecting clothes for this morning, I was like, I worked out that I need to do the opposite for these days when we're sitting still and trying to concentrate, and there's lots of other stuff going on. So I dopamine down.
You dress in stillness.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm not doing it now, but at work I wear wool jumpers and cardigans in various patterns. Like I tend to either dress like a 5-year-old or I dress like a grandfather. And they're my two aesthetics.
Yeah, I have a lot of homemade crocheted stuff that gets worn a lot.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, I think that's quite a nice note to end this episode on. Thank you for joining us, JB, and we will be talking to you next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. Find us on Instagram at life.inthemind. Our other socials are linked in the bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Bye!